My story. Like most people, I didn't grow up in the healthiest of family environments. My mom and dad, they fought all the time. There was physical abuse, there was verbal abuse, there was emotional abuse. They were always yelling and screaming at each other, and so the environment was always negative, to say the least. At an early age, I knew that I didn't want to be anything like my dad, much less look like him, right? Because the first impression I had of him as a 10-year-old kid was that he was always loud, he was always angry, he was always mad all the time, which made him scary looking and unattractive. That's not what I wanted to be. And then one day, something happened that would change my life forever. My mom and I were talking one day. I really can't remember what we were talking about, but then she turned, looked me dead in my face, and said, "Gerard, are you getting enough sleep? Because you're starting to look like your dad. You're starting to develop those dark circles and bags under your eyes, just like him." Now mind you, I just said that I didn't want to be anything like my dad, much less look like him, because the first impression I had of him was that he was always loud and angry and mad, which made him scary looking and unattractive. And so when she said what she said, something inside of me clicked. I went straight to the mirror to see what she was talking about, and sure enough, I could see it. Or at least I accepted what she said to me as my reality. From that day forward, everything in my life began to change. I immediately became shy and introverted. I developed low self-esteem and low self-confidence in myself. I became self-conscious about how I looked, because now, when I looked in the mirror, all I could see was a 10-year-old kid with dark circles and bags under my eyes. And no kid in their right mind wants to walk around looking like they have dark circles and bags, like they've been working all night, like they have nothing going for them in the future. Eyes like my dad. So what I found out later was that I had become a victim of what is now known as the Pygmalion effect. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Pygmalion effect is when someone of authority, someone you look up to or respect, it could be your mother, your father, a friend, a sibling, a doctor, lawyer, teacher, or anyone else whose opinion you value. It's when they say something to you, whether positive or negative, and you accept it as your reality. That later turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy, more than likely, becoming your identity. So for me, an immediate imprinting took place. An imprinting happens when there is something intense or emotional that happens, a charged experience or event that takes place, causing you to change the perception you have of yourself. Your self-identity, your self-image, you yourself change almost instantly. And it doesn't require any further reinforcement or conditioning. So like I said, for me, I immediately became shy and introverted. I developed low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and immediately became self-conscious of how I looked. Because every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was a 10-year-old kid with those dark circles and those bags, and also a 10-year-old kid who was powerless to change it. There was nothing I could do but accept it. Except for one thing. At that moment, I made a conscious decision. I made a vow that when I got older, I would do something about it. So when I became a teen, all I could see was a teenage kid with dark circles and bags under his eyes. And when I became an adult, all I could see was an adult with dark circles and bags under his eyes. And I know what you're thinking. My mom never should have said what she said to me as that 10-year-old kid, because she did not know the kind of impact her words would have on me. And I believe that if she did know the effect, if she knew the impact that her words would have on me, she probably wouldn't have said it. But back then, there was no word for the Pygmalion effect. And besides, she didn't know the impression that I had of my dad. But I did.